his screws loose, they done stripped the bolts on him. Shoulda never sent him to pick up the work for him. Sprayed the park and had my shit inside the car. Marcus Smart Boy was shooting with a 36 on him. Said if he wasn't in the rush, they was all goners.
All right. Greetings, Chudlings. Welcome to another episode of Chuddy's Corner. It's Sunday, February 11th. It's just about 5 p.m. here on the East Coast. The Celtics have just wrapped up beating the Heat in Miami, 110-106. Really exciting game all around. Obviously, a little bit of a sweat there at the end for us, but just a great Celtics Heat matchup, albeit without Jimmy Butler out for personal reasons. A leave of absence, apparently, for a death in his family. So, hope everything is all right on that end. But the game still ended up being pretty good. We're going to break it all down for you. I'm your host, as always, Dugouts, and with me is Chuddy, King Chuddy. How you feeling today?
Feeling all right. Started to get some of the unpleasantness that seems to come along with every Celtics Heat game out of my system, and feeling a lot better now, so pretty good. How about you?
I'm good. Yeah, good. Excited for the game tonight. We're gonna do a little bit of crossover sports-wise, give you guys some Super Bowl picks and stuff like that at the end of the podcast too. But yeah, so again, the story tonight though, Celtics beat the Heat 110-106. Make sure you're following us on social media at Chuddy's Corner on Twitter. You can follow me at Doug_outs. Follow him at King Chuddy. Make sure you're checking out Chuddy'sCorner.com. That's home to the blog, home to all the episodes. It's where you can leave voicemails. We got a couple of voicemails that we have ready. I think tomorrow's episode, or next game's episode, we're going to do a few of those. So if you want to get a voicemail in, get them in now. And also just subscribe wherever you listen to the podcast at, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, any of the above. And special shout out to our sponsor, Nick Perino Real Estate, nickperino.com for all your real estate needs. And thanks to Nick. If anyone has noticed, our faces are brighter. We got some lighting sent to us. So yeah, I feel like I should have applied sunscreen. So I feel it looks like if I'm doing a fireside chat, if you're watching on the YouTube channel, that's it. I'm still working out the kinks on the lights. I feel lit up, but I do feel like I'm sitting in front of like a fire or something right now. Anyway, that's enough of that. We're going to get into the game. Celtics beat the Heat. Jayson Tatum, the high scorer for the Celtics with 26 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. He's been creeping towards a triple-double in a lot of these games. He's got to be due for one soon. But I'll pass the mic over to you, Ben. Over to you, Chud. What do you have for a recap for us in this game?
Yeah, well, I was coasting towards a casual Sunday afternoon, and a pretty typical Celtics Heat game broke out. Nothing really too surprising that I don't expect to see when these teams match up, especially in Miami in the Kaseya Center. And that's what it was. It was a typical kind of grinded out bloodbath affair. Picked up late in the game, early. Like you mentioned, we knew Jimmy Butler was going to be out, but I think we know with these teams, it almost doesn't really matter. Like, you know exactly what you're going to get, no matter who's on the court for either team. And that's what it was. Scrappy, fighting early. I thought the Celtics came out, really good discipline. Great job of getting KP involved, which is, again, kind of something we harp on, especially in this matchup. And you could see it all over the place, running that high pick and roll. He was popping out for threes. He was getting the ball, finishing inside. Kind of a little bit of everything, which, again, is just so good to see. And something we've talked about all years, too, is just the way he affects the entire floor when he's out there. Wherever he goes, you see what he kind of does with Adebayo and really shifts and affects their entire defense and just makes it so hard for them to muck us up, especially the way we've seen them do in years past. So it's nice to see that in the early going. We were able to build up a little bit of lead. I thought the defense was pretty locked in early, again, with no Butler. Then Richardson got hurt. Then Terry Rozier got hurt. They were kind of just running out of guys who could beat us.
Yeah.
So a lot of focus on Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin. Those guys played a lot. I thought Bam was really solid, kind of in the middle for the entire game. The Jays got it going. You mentioned Tatum. I thought just an amazing passing game by him. He had the 9 assists. I think they said that the Celtics were 9 of 17 off his passes, so probably could have made a few more, gotten him that triple-double. And he had a few plays, too, where it felt like he kind of started the ball getting in rotation, and he didn't get the assist, but it was kind of his pass that started the ball moving and led to a good shot. Yeah, if even. Sometimes it was like 3-4 passes away, but it was like he started kind of the swing that ended up getting us a good shot. So saw a lot of that. We were kind of able to stretch it out to like a 7-8, almost 10-point lead around the half. Came out, I thought, great start to the third quarter. We were playing a little bit of zone, firing right at them. We had that awesome baseline out of bounds play where White set the screen for Porzingis, came in, got the dunk and one over Hero. I think stretched it out to about 15. Things were really looking good. Miami called the timeout, came right out of that on a 13-2 run. That was when Tyler Hero got going. We did an awesome job with him in the second half. Awesome job with him in the first half, not so much in the second half. He scored 20 points in the second half and really was the linchpin for their offense. It seemed like he was kind of doing it all. He was got himself going with some good looks, and then I thought he made some tough shots too, and we did a good job on them. He was targeting mismatches, going at Hauser a lot, who, again, I thought did all right, but Hero just had it going a little bit. His two-man game with him and Bam was giving us some trouble. They kind of quickly got back in the game. It felt like for like 1 minute we were going to run away and have a little bit of a blowout in that third quarter, and the Heat said, absolutely not. Cut it back down to a 4-point game really quickly, and we saw Porzingis actually exit the game, go right to the locker room, grimacing and holding his back. Was obviously a scary moment after I already mentioned the Heat injuries. It was kind of a lot of scary injury moments in this game for both sides. I guess more for them, but the Porzingis one was definitely a scare for a few minutes there as he went right back to the locker room. The lead had already started to kind of fade at that point. It seemed like he was out there not his full self, and we weren't kind of using him the same way for those couple minutes before he did go out. Celtics called timeout down 4. Drew Holiday, massive 3, got it back to 7, kind of gave us some arm's length again to fend them off for the end of the third quarter. Fourth quarter, same thing, pushed it out a little bit, had a nice lead going. Then there's this crazy sequence, basically will end up probably defining the game. So it started with a great Celtics defensive possession that Caleb Martin, of course, that absolute bastard, scoops it up as the ball's falling out of bounds, and he throws it over the backboard to beat the shot clock, cut the lead from like 9 to 7 off, what should have been a stop, come down at the other end. Jaylen Brown gets fouled as Duncan Robinson's absolutely all over him and kind of shoves Robinson off him, snaps him around with a little bit of force. Robinson goes flying, called a technical on Brown, upgraded to a flagrant 1 on Brown, so the Heat get the ball back. Robinson hits the 2 free throws after about a 5-minute delay, a lot of pushing and shoving, name calling, this, that, whatever.
Yeah, we're going to get into that later.
Definitely, but Robinson hits the 2 free throws, they get the ball back, and then some nice defense almost on the Celtics, causes a loose ball, but Bam picks it up, draws the and 1, tough call. So ended up basically being a 7-0 Heat run where the Celtics had the ball for 1 possession and drew a foul. So I'm not sure you'll see that like anywhere else. And
wow. When you put it all down like that, it felt crazy at the time. When you say it like that, it seems even more crazy.
It's almost like mathematically impossible for that to happen, I would say, other than the exact way it played out. But that really was a tough sequence. Swung the momentum, got the crowd into it. The Heat obviously fired up. It was a 4-point game, and it might have felt like they kind of responded to him, and it swung the momentum in their direction, but it was pretty even, actually, back and forth the rest of the way. It was really, like I said, a bloodbath. Both teams super aggressive on both ends, a lot of defense, and that's where, again, those last 7-8 minutes, starters came back in. That's where it really felt like a classic Heat-Celtics game. It felt like a playoff game. I mean, the intensity was through the roof. So, not like the most fun moments as a Celtics fans, kind of hate watching that, but those are the moments that will probably help us more than anything down the stretch. It's good to have those kind of experiences, I think, in the regular season, good to face some of that adversity. And I thought for the most part responded pretty well. Again, other than Hero making a few ridiculous shots, I thought mostly the Celtics were running good offense. They had like a couple of minutes where they seemed a little stunned by what happened. And then I thought they found themselves, they ran good stuff. They got some good looks. Jaylen seemed a little rattled for a minute there, but he bounced back, hit a huge 3, and then cut inside, got a pass from JB that he was able to finish for a layup. So some big plays to close it out down the stretch on both ends, and I think the defense really carried us home after, again, they had cut it down to 3 a couple times, stepped up, has had some huge stops. JB had a huge possession on Bam where he forced a bad shot after the end of the shot clock, and then Tatum had another one where he was all over Bam, poked it away a couple times, forced him into a bad shot, then got a tough rebound, were able to close it out from the line, ended up with a 4-point game. Wasn't pretty, but did what we had to do. And then want to shout out Drew Holiday too. It seemed like the story of this game was kind of Miami making runs and then the Celtics pushing back before they could kind of get all the way over the hump. A little one of those Sisyphus games kind of for Miami where they kept rolling the boulder up the hill, and then right when they would get to the top, it would kind of push back against them. Drew was a huge part of that, 5 of 6 from 3, and it felt like 3 of those were absolute like momentum stoppers when we needed him. So some huge shots. And again, it's never pretty against Miami. We just beat them by 40 a couple weeks ago in Miami. They had half their team missing tonight and seemed like they played us obviously much better. So, again, I think that's kind of what you come to expect from these two teams. Really good to see the Celtics ratchet it up down the stretch and pull out of there with a win.
Yeah, great shout out right there. Some Greek mythology shout out there. Yeah, I think kind of like exactly what you said. It felt like it got close at the end, but it never really felt like until that point that there was the game wasn't really much in doubt. I think the whole incident, and we're going to get into it with Jaylen and Duncan Robinson. I think if anything, that kind of just like that's exactly what the Heat sort of needed. I feel like that was a big shit. I think without that happening, we might have coasted to an even bigger victory. But that did change a lot, and we're going to get into that. I think Hero too, his shot making, he had that 1.2 where he shot like a super deep three. They got the offensive rebound and gave it back to me. Did it again, and you just knew with that Heat voodoo magic that we always talk about that there was no way he was going to miss two awful shots, which was like super deep threes. Yeah, so that sucked, and I agree. It was just they would cut into our runs, and before it got too out of hand, we would build one up again. So just kind of back and forth the game. Made for a really exciting game. I did write down even my notes. All Drew Holiday's points were from threes, and like you said, a lot of those were super kind of clutch threes to sort of end those droughts. Yeah. Tatum too. We're gonna get into his night too, but I just thought the playmaking, like you mentioned, with the assist is crazy. Like you see the defense all just shading over to him, and he just kind of makes like, again, sometimes it's just that first pass that leads to just like a swing of 4 or 5 passes and just a great shot. So it was a fun game. I'm glad that no one on our end was seriously injured. I hope that the guys on their end, obviously Terry Rozier, don't want anything to happen to him. Richardson, it looked like you could see his shoulder kind of pop out. So, that could end up being a little bit of a worse one. Duncan Robinson almost got his arm ripped out. And I guess we can kind of turn it over to that now. So the play you're talking about, he kind of gets hooks his arm sort of under Jaylen Brown. They call the foul on him, on Jaylen Brown. He continues to like hook his arm in, and Jaylen kind of flings him forward. And just because of like the way his arm bent, at first it looked like I was like, oh my God, I think he just fucking like really hurt him. But it turns out he didn't miss any time or anything. But it was at first it looked really bad, but then, if he gets the call, if he's getting called for fouling for that move and just continues to do that move, I don't get why Jaylen isn't allowed to like shove him off. Granted, it looked bad, but that leads to kind of the really intense environment. I think up until that point, that arena was like, you could have taken a nap in that arena. Yeah. Except for the times when the Celtics made big plays, because it sounded like there was a pretty good Celtic crowd in there. Yeah. So that happens. It kind of leads off to sort of this jawing. He obviously gets the flag on, like you said. Duncan Robinson comes back out and like walks right over to like Jaylen, and they start jawing a little bit more after that. So things got pretty intense. And again, I think it breathed life into the Heat. So I don't know, what did you kind of see with that? I mean, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I think that Duncan Robinson's just like a perfect kind of villain. So I had no problem. I thought it was stupid that they called it a flagrant, but I guess just because of the way it looked, it did. Like if he just kind of just like pushed him away and the guy flopped, I don't think they'd call it. I think it was because of the way his arm, it looked like he snapped his arm. Like that was like a jiu-jitsu move or something.
Definitely did. Didn't look great. The way he flexed and kind of like threw him over there, let out some frustration. But again, like what it comes back to,
he's fouling him. He's currently in the act of fouling. Robinson was the one who committed the foul, and it's like you don't want that. Like you know where your arm is, take your arm out of there. He could have taken his arm out of there. He was clearly trying to like sell the call, complain, whatever. Then he gets thrown to the ground like a rag doll. He lies there and cries about it for 7 minutes, like an entire review. Then he gets up and wants to get in Jaylen's face. And if you watch the video of him getting in his face, he's like backing up the entire time as he's talking. Yeah,
like,
he got like close and is like talk shit and start going back.
Like, give me a break. Total like crybaby flop job, whatever. And then the most annoying part about it to me was that after that, when the Celtics were going right at Robinson and Hero, the refs just were letting them do like Tatum not shooting free throws until the end when they intentionally fouled him for the way he played and how much contact he's playing.
And then that one play where they like were intentionally fouling him, they weren't calling it.
Right. But it's like I know that these guys are like smaller, lesser defenders, but if you're just equalize the playing field if you're just going to let them have two hands on him every time he's driving. They show a replay. Robinson's just holding Tatum with both his hands like on his chest. It's like, you're just going to let him do that. It's like the refs are kind of asking for it. You're letting these guys play this physically. They're fouling nonstop, which is just how the Heat play, and it's so frustrating to watch them get away with this. Mm-hmm. They're just mucking the game up with basically, we're just going to reach and bump you and hold you all game, and we're just basically daring the refs to consistently call it. They don't, and that's what leads to this mix-up, and that is what's going to lead to a guy getting hurt on a play like that, or Jaylen Brown's so frustrated, because how many times do you think he's been getting hugged by Hero and Robinson and those other guys the whole game, where it's like, eventually he's going to be like, get the hell off me. So,
he ragdolled him. It was
I'm glad he wasn't hurt, but I think his frustration was from more than that one play. And I mean, you could see it from Tatum at times too, where it's like, what the hell does this guy have to do to get a call? It's just ridiculous. He's driving, getting bumped by two guys, getting held, going up, and it's just like, it's crazy to me. So, I mean, again, I think that did help them. It gave them momentum. Beyond the momentum, like I said, they got 7 points in 4 seconds without us
By
doing like
fouling
anything
us,
wrong.
yeah.
By fouling us, exactly, which is just crazy. So, I mean, I'm glad no one on their team is hurt, but this is like typical Miami Heat. Not even playing like dirty, but just finding ways to like muck the game up and take the other team out of what they want to do. And it worked to them for an extent. I mean, again, that cut it to 4. The rest of the game, obviously, we won by 4, so played them pretty much even. But yeah, I think they had the ball like maybe one time where they were actually within a possession and had a chance to tie it. Celtics never let them tie it, never let them take the lead. So again, it's not pretty, but that's I think what you want to see as like a Celtics fan, where you say, what can we actually take away from the regular season at this point? I think it's moments like that where the Heat are down 4, their crowd's in it, they're fired up, and you have to hold them off for 8 minutes in the fourth quarter. Like that's what we did. So again, it's definitely not one of our like beautiful artwork composition games that we've seen.
No.
That's not how playoff basketball is. And so to see us bounce back from that, and again, not like let it get in our head too much is I think what you want to see there. And I think for the most part, we still executed really well on both ends. We're not getting favorable whistles either, and kind of to not let any of that stuff get to us in that building. I think it's a positive sign.
Yeah, it is. It's bananas that Tatum didn't get a single free throw until the intentional. He shot 2 the whole game, and it was intentional fouling at the end.
All over.
Yeah. I'd like to see, maybe that's something the intern can look up. It's like just some like the lowest attempts by like a player of his caliber this season. Like it can't be.
Yeah.
It's got that had to have been a pretty crazy one.
Well, and again, just for how he was playing, it's not like he was just being like passive and settling for jump shots. Like he was driving into contact the entire game.
Yeah.
Playing super aggressively right from the opening tip.
Yeah, but back to just sort of the whole intensity level thing here. I kind of love that the rest did sort of let this game kind of get out of hand there. But I do just kind of love that Jaylen was sort of able to get that out, but also kind of keep it in check. I feel like towards the end there when Robinson went after him, I was kind of a little bit worried, like because if I'm Robinson, I'm doing that to maybe try to lure him into like a second technical or something like that. So I thought that Jaylen did kind of a good job.
Well,
of just
I think
kind
the
of
technical got rescinded, so he wouldn't have got.
Oh, it did. All right.
Well, they changed it from the tech to a flagrant. I don't think it was both.
So that doesn't count. Okay.
Well,
Either way, just to kind of stay out of it. I do think he was a little rattled in the next few possessions.
He definitely was.
It felt like he was trying to do
turnovers.
everything. Yeah, he was trying to do everything, and he had some sloppy turnovers. But then, again, you mentioned the 3-pointer that he hit. That was one of those sort of run-stopping threes.
They just got the 3,
yeah, and he came at a good time. He had just missed the 3 shot before that too, so it was kind of good to get to see that out of Jaylen. But again, I think that outside of like that last stretch there was never really a point when this game felt like the Heat were even like close, they couldn't guard us. But I do think that whole thing end up making this game real close.
And that's what they need. I mean, that's the talent.
That's what they feast off of. Yeah,
right. They know like we just are the more talented team, straight up. So they need weird shit like that, and they need to try to rattle us and get us out of our game to win. And like obviously they're very good at doing that historically over the years. That comes from great coaching and some great personnel, great leadership. But you see the test to Spo where guys keep falling out, other guys come in, and they're still doing it. Like, we know how much
crazy.
Robinson and Hero, these guys aren't good defenders, but you see the way they defend in that scheme for Spo, and it's like, again, they're overmatched, but they're not making it easy on our guys, especially when the refs are letting them play that physically. Like, credit to them, they are doing it, so a lot of guys would roll over and just let us, get to the basket on them, bigger, stronger, more athletic guys, but they friggin' battle the shit out of us. They always do, and it's coming. So like I said, I don't think anyone's going to be upset about only a 4-point win when you just swept the season series against the Heat. And like I said, it's a little easier also to take such a shallow win when we just beat them by like 40 on their home court when they were at full strength. So again, it's almost like we'll beat you this way, we'll beat you that way, we'll beat you here, we'll beat you there. So sweeping the season series against the Heat, that's got to feel good no matter how you do it.
Yeah. So tonight was a pretty good showcase for our big three. We obviously mentioned Tatum's near triple-double, 26, 10, and 9. Jaylen had 20 points. He had 9 rebounds, too. He shot 8 for 16 from the field, 2, 3 from 8 from 3. So that's kind of, we were discussing some of the 3-point slump that he was dealing with. So that's good to see him hit 3 of those. Porzingis, 25 and 9. He was 8 for 14 from the field. 25, he probably could have had more than that. I wish he had more than that. Just as an aside, I took Porzingis' points over the Chiefs' total points in the Super Bowl tonight. So when he was out, he missed. 25 is going to be a little bit tricky. But that's an aside. The point of this segment is, the point of this segment though is, what did you see out of like the big three? And just maybe a little, we can dovetail towards the end. Just kind of Derek White's just been kind of quiet offensively lately. He's been doing a lot defensively. He's not playing poorly out there. But is that just like
another tough shooting night too?
Yeah, is that just Wait, we'll say the Derek White, but go ahead and tell me what you think about the Big Three.
Yeah, so I mean, it was far from a perfect game. I thought Tatum was not perfect, but pretty near it. I thought it was a really, really good two-way Tatum game, and again against a team that they're throwing doubles at him almost every time, and it's so like refreshing to watch when people, I think, maybe just look at Tatum's overall stats and they're like, oh, he's like the same player he was, or like he's only averaging 27 points, like whatever. I think you watch this game and he's just made like that final leap to like, he keeps improving, and with this, it's his playmaking and just how he handles the game, and especially how he handles that double team. Like that used to be a bit of an issue for him. Now he's like automatic. He's got to be one of the best in the league handling that double. He is waiting. He's making the right play every single time. It's just so good to watch and be able to do that, to defer and to trust his teammates and to trust, like, I think a lot of the times with the Celtics, it definitely helps, but I think with the Celtics, like, so much we talk about, and part of it is the luxury of how good the team is, but like, if we just do the right thing all the time, like, we're almost impossible to stop. And I think so much of that starts with Tatum, where it'd be easy for superstars to want to do more, to want to score more, to want to shoot more, all that. But it's like, a lot of times that's not the right play to make. And when Tatum makes the right play, like, we get a good look every time. And tonight, again, to see him doing that, he mentioned it, I heard in his post-game interview, saying, like, almost being a decoy at times. He's like, they're always throwing extra guys at me. And you mentioned it earlier. You can just see it watching how much attention is focused on Tatum. So for him to be able to make the right pass to get other guys involved is kind of what makes this offense next level, where we've talked about, he can go out, he can work his ass off, he can score 40 points against pretty much any team whenever he wants. But is that necessarily the best for the Celtics as a team? I don't think so. So to see him tonight, the way, again, he was just like running the offense with such efficiency so well. It seemed like finding every guy in the right spot at the right time, and then picking his own spots when he was running a lot of screens, like being the screener himself, and then going to immediately go post up whenever it was Hero or Robinson, any of those guys on him, and making the quick read. A quick double isn't coming. Okay, I'm blowing right past these guys. He was getting into his kind of like short mid-range game. He was getting to the hoop a lot early. And then when they're focusing on sending an immediate double at him, he's swinging the ball back, getting it to Porzingis, making kind of the skip pass to the corner to Drew, to whoever. So just so good to see his all-around game. And then, again, the way on the defensive end, he took on that matchup where he was finally like, all right, I'm going to stop Hero, or he's guarding Bam. So, again, he's guarding both of their two best players down the stretch, made some really big plays. Again, that stop he had on Bam was one of the biggest sequences of the game that led to the rebound where he put us up by 4 and kind of iced the game. So super good to see. Porzingis, a lot of it was in the first half. You wonder how much he was kind of affected by that injury, because I think he had 16 and all 9 of his rebounds in the first half.
Yeah.
Came out, hit a big 3 right away, and then obviously missed the time in the locker room. Came back, played a lot in the fourth, but it never felt like he was kind of the same, or at least we were a little like hesitant to use him. It didn't seem
weren't
like he was
just like
kind
spamming that matchup like we were before.
Yeah,
we were just getting the mismatches all throughout.
Right. So I wonder how much of that was injury, because it seemed like the beginning of the game was a huge focal point, was getting him involved. You saw, again, we've talked about before, how much that Miami zone has been a thorn in our side for years. You see just how much he changes the game. There was, in the first half, they went to the zone. I think it was when Bam came out, and, first possession, well, there were 2 separate times, actually. One was with Bam in. First time, he went right to the free throw line. They threw it to him, and it was like Bam was staying under the hoop on the zone. It's like, okay. And he just hit like the most casual free throw line shot. It's basically a layup for him. Super easy. Next trip, they come down, give it to Porzingis, same spot. Or they were waiting. Bam stepped up. He was kind of trying to take away that pass, and this was another beautiful Tatum play where Tatum was kind of holding it on the elbow, posting up. He was trying to feed it in to Porzingis, but Bam was trying to deny that pass. Al was on the other side. He sneaks in right behind, and Tatum, perfect bounce pass right down to Al, uncontested layup. And I think they came right out of that zone. And then you saw another time where they tried to muck it up in the first half. They took Bam out, putting Kevin Love. And you saw first play, immediately Porzingis pops, wide open 3. Second 2 plays, they crept up on that, and I think he had 2 alley-oops in a row where he got backdoor for alley-oops right in a row. So, again, it's just like so nice to watch Porzingis, again, especially in this matchup where this has been the team, it seems like the last few years, who's made our offense stop better than anyone else. So to see now the counters we have thanks to Porzingis is beautiful to watch. And again, I think probably part of it was the injury, because you're right, he was headed to a much bigger game, and it seemed like he just kind of was a step slow and like a slightly less aggressive. So I don't know if any of that was, the way he was feeling, whatever. Obviously he didn't play as much in general. So hopefully nothing, hopefully he's fine, but great to see. And then Brown, I guess if you want to nitpick someone, didn't have a great game. Brown, 6 turnovers. you just see some of these moments. It's something about this team. I don't know what it is. He had some ugly ones. There was one travel he had late. I didn't think was his fault. I thought no one was just coming to the ball. But a couple where it seemed like he was just dribbling very carelessly in transition, got poked away. He just lost it a couple times. A few of those moments where it's like, all right, stop doing this. And it's like, again, we have all these guys who can run the offense. We don't need Jaylen to ever do like too much. And it seems like that's whenever the problems start. We can kind of feel is like, okay, just stop doing too much. Let other guys be like a play finisher, not a play starter.
Yeah, he was, but we were kind of praising him earlier in the year for being more able to do that.
Well, no,
to kind
it's
of take
pick your
over
spots,
that
but
role.
it just seems like sometimes he forces it and gets the ball and decides like this possession he's just gonna like cook, and it's like we don't need that right now. So I thought he did a couple times, not too much. Again, nothing crazy, and he had 7 huge points down the stretch in the fourth quarter that were very important. Overall, played a good game. You mentioned 9 rebounds, really good defense, and again, I think an underrated thing with the Celtics is how good the Jays have been on defense this year and how much they're stepping up to take things away. Again, when the Heat were kind of making their run on offense and got back in the game, a lot of it was Hero and Bam running pick and roll. That was a problem for us, and we stopped it by putting the Jays like in the action, whether they're Brown and Tatum both took turns guarding Bam and Hero, and it's like how many teams can put their best players on those guys? So you switch it either way, and you're happy with either guy on either one, and it's like what players, 2 and 3. Well, I guess Tatum was playing power forward, but either way, what teams like 2 wing players you can trust to guard the other team's best like perimeter ball handler and big guy down low is quite the luxury to have.
No,
so
yeah,
again,
I mean
little things that don't show up
just
in the box
to completely
score.
take away that whole switch where it's just like, okay, well, you're just switching under 2 very capable wing defenders.
And we're happy to have either of those guys guarding either of their 2 guys, and you could see like those last few possessions, that's what bogged down. They couldn't create an advantage either way, and that kind of closed it out. So again, good to see them stepping up. And there are different ways to define clutch. Like I keep saying, we always talk about those, buzzer beater shots are nice, but to be able to stonewall them. Yeah, right. But to stonewall their best players on the defensive end on multiple trips down the stretch is equally clutch, and we were up to the task today, and I always kind of like when we close games out that way. So, yeah, really good job overall. Like I said, other than the few moments of careless, annoying turnovers, I thought really good. And we had talked about Jaylen, 1 for 16 threes last 6 games leading up to this is a very weird stretch, but he was 3 of 8 tonight, and he had 2 more that just rimmed like right out. I thought, from everything I test, shot looks good. He's shooting them in rhythm. Seemed like, he wasn't forcing anything again. So like, I think we both agreed, I think just like a little blip on the radar, not worried about that really at all.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. I do. I think he's made a lot of improvements anyway on shooting threes, but he doesn't just shoot a lot of them. So something like that, I feel like kind of the number sticks out, but it's not like he's like shooting us like out of games or stuff like that. So you hear 1 for 16. I mean, 16 divided by 6, that's pretty good efficiency right there.
So under three attempts a game. Yeah. So nothing crazy.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah. Just those 3 guys are just, again, I don't need to hash the point on, but like just what Porzingis, you said the Heat was like the one team that did feel like for some reason we would just they could just completely stop us. And, Porzingis, obviously hoping he stays healthy. It was just they said just a back contusion. That's just a bruise, right?
Yeah.
So,
he came back in, so
yeah.
I mean, you'd have to think there would be absolutely zero reason to put him in if there was any.
If it was anything, yeah.
Anything.
But when they said probable to return, I feel like, all right, he'll be fine.
Yeah. But I was also almost like, was it even worth it to return? I mean, so again, I guess glad to see that he was able to, but sometimes I'm like, is there any need for this?
Yeah. Well, it's just a bruise. I feel like you can't like re-hurt. You can't like if it was like an ankle and like you could like aggravate it.
Well, right. Which
a bruise
is just you couldn't really tell what it was.
But like, I mean, I'm sure that those Heat fuckers were fucking putting it on the back of his back or wherever it was bruised. Like,
definitely
piece of shit.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. I think just a couple different kind of additional notes. I think that Pritchard, great game for Pritchard. He's been playing really well. He's been playing really well for us, giving us good bench minutes. I thought Hauser too he played an all right game.
Very solid.
Yeah.
Again,
very solid.
Very solid. Yeah, no, I mean, again, people are going to talk about like Hero cooking him, but I think if you go back and watch those possessions, like he played fine defense. Hero was just in a groove at that point. Like teams, especially in games like this that feel like playoff type games, and it feels like every possession is getting so magnified. Like that's what teams are going to do. They're going to target the weakest defender on the floor. And I think again, it's more of a testament to the other 4 defenders than it is a knock on Hauser that like he's the one they're trying to target. It's almost such like by default. It's like, well, who else are you going to go at? And again, like I think the Celtics are mostly trusting him in those matchups 1-on-1, which I love. And again, if Hero just makes tough shots, like for the most part, I think you're just going to tip your hat and live with that. But I thought Sam played well. I thought he made a couple big threes. One of my favorite moments too, I mentioned off the baseline out of bounds play, the Celtics ran that play where they spread two guys out to either corner, and they had White right under the hoop, Porzingis at the top of the key three-point line. They had White go up and run just a screen to get Porzingis coming downhill. The Heat tried to switch it but didn't want to. Bam couldn't get around White's screen, and Porzingis just rolled in again for an easy dunk right over Hero. Celtics ran that same exact play again later, but with Hauser. And you saw Bam like trying so hard to fight over it, so they ended up with two guys on Bam. Hauser popped out to the elbow, and he got a wide open three off basically that same action. So I love shit like that. And it's like, you know, Spo's running their counter. Joe has this counter right back, where I think that was like the design of the play anyway. He was basically predicting that's what the Heat and Bam would do, and he got a wide open three for Sam. That was huge. So nice little coaching adjustment there. You know, you only hear about the coaching in these matchups when it goes poorly, it feels like. So. And I don't hear a lot of people calling out Spoelstra for his team with attempting over 43s and hitting over only 30%. So it's just interesting to kind of note the double standard. And again, I'm not saying Maz is Spo, but just, you know, I thought Maz did solid job for the most part. And playoff rotations too. I mean, a little bit of Pritchard, a little bit of Hauser, and that was it. Like Cornette came in for like 30 seconds, same with Brissett, but it was mostly 8 guys and really mostly just the 6. So they kind of approached it like playoff game down the stretch, and it certainly felt like it.
You mentioned, it just reminded me of when you said they're going to be targeting the weakest defender. Did you hear the commentary, which also tough? I mean, I like Redick, but that was a tough announcer situation today for a nationally televised game.
Really? So I was going to go the other way. I had actually announced their notes. I thought Redick was. I like
Redick
breath
a lot,
of fresh air.
But
you heard him breaking down.
All right, hold on. Let me talk. For half the show, you've been talking.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's two of us.
What was I saying? Oh yeah, Redick. They were talking about getting targeted on defense, and did you hear like Richardson or whatever like ask Redick? He was like, "So like when you were like the weakest guy in the field, and you were being targeted, like what did that feel like?" And it was just kind of like, "Damn, dude." Like that. And then he kind of circled. He's like, "Well, just to answer the question, what it did feel like was you were just in the middle of the ocean with like a raft with no paddle or something like that." But I thought that was pretty funny. Like I heard him asking the question, I'm just like, is he about to just like cook his ass on national television with this question?
But like. It is. I mean, it is. That's exactly what Redick was. So it is like kind of. There's no better guy to be talking about it. Like that's when he was out there. Like, he was very similar to the Hauser role, though. Like
I'm sure that Redick isn't sitting there like, I'm looking to give you my input on like being like the shittiest defender. Like usually you're hyping up your accolades like of why you'd be a good. Because you're right. It is. It's like an interesting to have a person in that situation who could talk about it. But it's like you wouldn't like when they're listening like the announcers like why this is why you should trust what I'm saying. This is all the experience I have. It's like, also, like, I've been, like, the guy who's getting picked on constantly on defense. So, I can give you a very unique interpretation then. But, yeah, I would have guessed that the answer to that question would have been just something like what he said, being stuck in the ocean without a paddle. But that was definitely,
that's true.
That was definitely pretty funny, just that whole interaction. I mean, I think the team, to be honest, I'll take that over, I guess, Doris Berger and think about what their number one is.
I was just going to say, when I was watching this game, I was immediately like, I wish this was the crew calling the finals. Jefferson's a little annoying, but I do think overall he sheds pretty good light. And JJ,
he's better in this role than on like when he does like the NBA countdown. Like on those
countdown, he's a clown.
Right? Yeah.
I think JJ evens him out too, because I think he's like, if JJ is actually talking ball and Jefferson's trying to be a clown, he'd be like, dude. He'd look like more of an idiot, so I think JJ almost like holds him accountable for being just like a take artist. But I thought JJ, it's like the first possession of the game, and he's breaking down how the Celtics are like scramming Derek White out of a switch onto Adebayo, and they're doing like a scram switch with Porzingis and him communicating. It's like, thank you. Like, where you're not getting this analysis anywhere else. So I mean, for people who actually want to hear them like breaking down the game, and he did it a few times, and I thought he had a great
Redick's legit
point when the Celtics bench came in. Pritchard hit a 3. He immediately talked about how he's like, everyone keeps talking about these guys like the Pritchard, Hauser, Cornette guys, like they're just like 12th men who you're like, you know, thrilled to get a chance out there. And he's like, at what point, like, this is just a good NBA bench and people need to stop. Like, so Redick, I mean, obviously no surprise. Like, he's locked in. That guy knows ball if anyone listens to his podcast or sees him on TV. So I think we talked about it a while ago and we were talking about how shitty, like, the ESPN crew is and the guys they trot out there. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying that they're opting to put up, like, Perkins and these guys just yelling at each other. It's like you have people who are very intelligent and like good at talking about basketball, and you're just deciding.
I feel like they don't put Redick on those shows because he calls people out. I feel like Redick doesn't.
Yeah, but I feel like they don't want him there because
Right,
he knows what he's talking
right,
about.
exactly.
And they're like,
He's
oh,
gonna like
shit.
call. Yeah, people don't
Perkins
like when they
have
get.
to like think.
People don't like when he just like says, just like gets to just
Yeah.
be like, wait, what you just said is like wicked dumb, and here's why. Like I'm pretty sure he cooked like Wilbon one time or something like that.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
He always is calling those guys out because again, they're just talking like general like takes out of nowhere, and he's like, well, no, and then we'll say like why they're wrong, and they're like, well, I don't know, like, no,
Yeah.
like
He's like so close. You can tell in some of those debates, just being like, all right, like name like 3 people on this team, like just like
100%.
he's just like he knows that, like some of those guys like don't know anything, and it's just like so funny. So I feel like that's why they don't like keep him. They don't like put him on those shows because they're like, at the end of the day, we're paying this guy way too much money to have the whole world know that they don't watch any basketball. They just get their takes from us. They get their takes.
That's probably true. It's probably true. But
he's great in the color stuff, and same with Jefferson too.
Well, and I hope it becomes a switch as he becomes more of a vet that they lean into him being the main guy, and it's like he can become that guy for like a long time for ESPN because he's really good, and I hope he doesn't get like beaten down by the rush for everyone to make takes, and like I hope he doesn't stop doing it the way he's doing and just decide like this isn't what people don't want, this kind of like actual analysis. Okay, so shout out JJ.
We're a Reddit podcast. Podcast.
Definitely.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of other kind of things to take away. There's a couple of things I'll get into when we do the Super Bowl things. I did do a couple of things to link to Super Bowl. Okay. But I don't know what you if you have anything in particular that you wanted to mention, or are you ready to give us your
I think that was pretty much it. Like I said, typical Heat Celtics. There's one other play when we kept talking about Tatum and Hauser that I wanted to highlight, and it was when Tatum they were swinging the ball, got it to Tatum. He could have taken like a open but kind of rushed 3, and he did that thing where he like held it for an extra second. And basically forced Hawkes, who was guarding Hauser in the corner, to decide. And after like the second pump, Hawkes just fully committed, sprinted to Tatum. Tatum immediately, no look, kicked to the corner, wide open corner 3 for Hauser. So again, for your superstar player to decide like, this is a pretty good look, I'm going to pass it up for an unreal look. That's like the last level of unlocking like amazing elite basketball playing. So to see little plays like that, and I also thought it was funny. It reminded me because we were talking about the commentators. I think then Jefferson was saying it was a mistake by Hauser. He's like, "Well, that's a rookie mistake." By Hawkes. He's like, "That's a rookie mistake. Like he'll learn." Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
and then he did.
I don't even think that is a mistake. I just don't think that's a mistake. Like you can't just leave Jayson Tatum standing there wide open with the ball. Like I know Hauser's a good shooter, but I'm sorry. Like you're choosing
you can leave
that
Hauser
10 out
to
of 10
cover
times.
him. Yeah,
like that I thought it was brutal. They were beating him up for that. It's like it's not his fault. He's choosing between Hauser and Tatum. Tatum has the ball. You take Tatum every time. Like so. Just Redick should have called out Jefferson. He probably was like, I don't want to ruin the rest of this game, but no, that was the only other thing. And then just I don't know about you, but after this, especially the last 8 minutes, I'm like, I think we've gotten through this. Like, let's not see the Heat in the playoffs. Like, I hope that's the last time we see them this season. They're just a pain in the ass.
I think it is, right?
Now they're gonna be pissed off. Well, it is. I'm saying unless we play them in the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
They're obviously the 8th seed right now, so. We'll see what happens. Robinson, I already seen his press conference was saying it was a dirty play, inexcusable, and all that by Brown. So it's like, I would be more than happy to be done with them. Hopefully they miss the playoffs completely.
That'd be interesting. All right, go ahead and give us what do you have for us for around the NBA? What's going on?
Yep. So, little news. We talked about obviously the buyout market coming. The 2 big buyout dominoes that we kind of knew were coming. Spencer Dinwiddie, immediately after the Nets traded him, he got bought out by I think the Raptors. They didn't want to pay him a $1.5 million bonus. Dinwiddie already been gobbled up by the Lakers, so you can take that as their big trade deadline acquisition, I guess, getting Spencer Dinwiddie to bolster their bench, I guess, give him another creator, ball handler. I mean, not terrible. Pretty good for the buyout market, at least.
Yeah.
And then Kyle Lowry, which we had already basically said was a foregone conclusion, officially bought out by Charlotte and officially has signed with the 76ers. No surprises there. Well, again, much more on the buyout. Guys coming. Those were kind of the 2 obvious big dominoes, but there's a lot of other guys now who will get bought out and can play, will probably not be as big a names as those guys, but could certainly help bolster the end of a contender's rotation, potentially. The other things really going on last night, we had a classic Warriors-Suns game, ended by Steph hitting a crazy game winner with like 0.7 left. Deep 3 off the catch, and then Durant missed a shot at the buzzer with Draymond on him, and Draymond just absolutely going crazy, yelling in Durant's face after that. It looked like the old Warriors. So
yeah, I saw him too with like Nurkic. He said something like, he's like, I'm not going to stop playing. He's like, quiet people don't win. And it's just like, that's just dumb. There's like a lot of quiet people that have won. Like there's a lot of teams. Like I'd say it's actually more the exception that like bubbling fucking loud idiots like him win. I'd say
Yeah.
he's probably the only one that has, so credit to him, but can't really think of any. I mean, maybe like Rasheed Wallace, that's one.
Yeah.
But they had Chauncey Billups, I feel like kind of,
yeah.
Well, yeah, that's now we're going way back, but I'm just thinking like recently. Garnett, maybe, you could say. Yeah.
Garnett, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's
like
it
was just
teams.
A stupid thing. A lot of quiet guys, you can still win and not be just like screaming in people's faces the whole game.
Right. No, totally.
But it works for him, I guess.
That's who he is, yeah, exactly. Like, without him doing that.
He didn't punch anyone. He's gone however many days now without attacking a European, so.
I know.
Shout out
to him, you know, seeing Nurkic over there was tempting him.
Oh, yeah. He played a few Euros, too, yeah.
Yeah. But no, I mean, say what you will, but the Warriors, since Draymond has returned, look a lot better, and they now, with that win, crawled into the 10th spot. So as of right now, the play-in would have the Warriors, the Lakers, the Mavericks, and the Pelicans. I think the 9-10 game would be Lakers-Warriors, so one of them would be one and done in the play-in. That would be, I think, a nice result for Adam Silver to get that single elimination play-in game.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Big boost for his play-in tournament, so that'd be fun there. Then the only other thing, I want to just give a shout out. He's almost always the source of people making fun of him. So shout out Grant Williams. Nice debut in Charlotte last night. I think he had 15 and 8. He hit 3 threes, stabilized their defense a little bit, and got them a much needed win as they were 10 and 41 going into the game on a 10-game losing streak. First game for Grant. The Hornets pulled out a win, and he looks like, again, I think he'll be a really good fit on that rebuilding team. It was pretty funny that last night, the Hornets played 9 guys, and 5 of them, it was their first game playing for the Hornets after the trade deadline. So, again, not something you'll see very often, kind of a funny little stat there. And also super cool, I think a story that didn't get a lot of press at the deadline. Seth Curry was kind of a throw-in that deal, but he's now on the Hornets, obviously his dad's old team, his hometown, where they're from Charlotte, and Del Curry is the color commentator for Bally Sports Charlotte. He calls the Hornets games. Yeah. So now Seth on the court wearing his dad's old number 30. It was a pretty funny moment last night. He checked in, and Eric Collins was like, who's this guy checking in, number 30? And Del's like, I know him. So just a kind of cool story going on over there.
That nice? That's like one of those...
You'd have to hope that now this is, the next domino in the Warriors missing out on the playoffs and Steph demanding a trade to Charlotte, getting the whole family back there and going back to their roots. So just kind of a cool, fun little family story for them last night to see. And honestly, that's pretty much all I got going on. It was kind of a quiet day. Obviously, only one other game today because of that football game that's happening later. And that's it. Oh, and one other thing, the other Celtics I want to say, Delano Banton. Great night in his debut. He had like 12 points, 3 assists, played like 24 minutes. So another thing too, for anyone like feeling like we all like these poor guys who we just shipped out, whatever, we sent them to good situations because Banton was not going to play here. He's immediately a part of the Portland rotation. And Stevens, that's a guy trying to play for his next NBA contract. We sent him to the Grizzlies. If there's any team where he's going to play 35 minutes a game, again, can't say we like screwed any of these guys over. I'm sure they're happy that they're going to get such an awesome opportunity now. So good to see Stevens didn't make his debut yet, but we will definitely monitor the situation.
Yeah, that was some of those band stats. It was kind of funny seeing like so many people like, oh my God, we should have been playing him more. It's like, all right, well, I don't know. Yeah. I think it's more just the situation he's in, not that
100%
the skill. So hold our horses there a little bit. All right. We do have the second big game of the night going on tonight. So I have a few different first of all, like, who do you have tonight? What's your prediction for tonight's game?
So, this is for me a classic, like the heart wants San Fran, but the head says Kansas City. I don't know. I probably won't bet the game because I want to root for the 49ers, and I just don't think that's a good bet. Especially being favored. It's kind of one of those things where like, all right, how many times do I have to see it until I see them like actually beat Mahomes? I'm not going to bet against it. So, my pick, like, from my heart is 32-27 Niners. They give McCaffrey 35 touches, and he goes on to be MVP. But if you ask me to pick with a gun to my head what's going to happen, I'd say, like, Chiefs find a way to pull it out, like 23-17.
All right. I like that idea. Well, I like the idea of Chiefs only scoring 20. You just said, what, 23?
Oh, so yeah, for your
person. Yeah, so my other side, so there's a couple like those cross-sport bets. So I have Porzingis, total points versus the Chiefs total points. So Porzingis finished with 25 points, which was good. We hit those
bad.
2 free throws. I was like, let's get him over 24 because I feel like 24 is like a football number,
Yeah.
25. And then the other one,
I'd say you got about even odds going into that one. What's the KC team total? It's got to be right around there.
No, that's a good question.
But either way, I think
while I pull that up,
not bad.
my other one that I have is the Celtics total points versus the Chiefs total rushing yards. So that one I was a little bit more nervous about just because the Heat can sometimes like make those games.
Right,
I didn't know it was like a. Yes, they have 110, but I think that one. Let me double check. That one I think I had like some pretty like fair. It wasn't like an even. An even odd thing. Like I'm pretty sure it's like it was actually kind of long odds. And I think 110 is higher than they probably predicted us to score against them anyway.
Maybe.
I have where is it? Yeah, it's plus 4,000.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So that's pretty decent.
All right.
I don't know what the Chiefs average.
So you need an early San Fran jump out to a lead and take them out of their running game, basically.
Yeah. Make and then the Porzingis one was just a plus 115. Okay. But as far as the game goes,
both those have a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I think I took the Chiefs. I did bet the Chiefs too. Doesn't feel good, but it would feel betting the Niners and then waking up and you just feel like such an idiot to wake up and then be like, wow, I actually bet against.
If I was going to bet,
almost said an underdog too is crazy.
Right, I know.
So yeah,
I just don't want to root for it tonight.
Yeah, I think we'll say like Chiefs 24, Niners 23. Missed extra point by Moody.
That would be exciting, certainly.
Yeah, I also just a few of the prop bets. Anyone out there wants to get in on some of the prop bets? You obviously got to get on the offensive lineman to score a touchdown. That's always a fun one, plus 3,500. You never know what could happen with that one. Just bring a little fun on that. Scoregami plus 2,000. We're on Scoregami. It's only happened 3 times in the Super Bowl, and it's been all Super Bowls involving the Broncos. So not great. But that's AFC West, so there might be a little bit of a residual.
Was one of those the Broncos-Niners Super Bowl though?
Don't know. Stat just mentioned Broncos.
Brutal.
And also, will any punt result in a touchback? That was plus 130. That one's just kind of fun. Just make every punt a fun play. Every punt you'll be getting a little bit into it.
Yeah.
In a touchback. I feel like
the odds should be a little better, but not bad.
And then naturally, you got to bet any kick to hit the uprights, the doink bet.
The doink.
All over the doink bet.
All right. Well, I haven't done any of those, but I got 45 minutes after this. That's exactly what I was planning on focusing on.
This is honestly terrible because if you're listening to this, you
you're not already have to tell these.
Yeah, but
you can judge us.
Maybe I'll tweet them out. Yeah. So, so that'll be good. Hopefully, again, Chiefs rushing attack doesn't do much, and then it's a real sloppy defensive game.
I like it. The only prop I'm on is Travis Kelce to propose and Taylor Swift to say no after the game. Was pretty decent odds.
Yeah,
so,
that'd be interesting.
Yeah, if you can find anyone still taking action on that, I would recommend getting in on that.
That would certainly be an interesting bet. All right, real quick before we go, let's go on. We have the Nets coming to town. Or no, we're going to the Nets on Tuesday night. Nets, obviously, you mentioned they traded away Dinwiddie. They're 2.5 games out of the play-in. What should we look for this matchup against the Nets?
Yeah, they traded away Royce O'Neal as well. Hung on to Dorian Finney-Smith, Lonnie Walker, Claxton, some of the other guys. This team, they're kind of like a better version of the Wizards we saw the other night, where they have a lot of guys who are like really good role players, but they don't really have anyone to quite like lead the ship. Mikal Bridges is their closest thing. He's like a really good player, but again, I just think if he's your number one guy, like you're not really going anywhere, and that's kind of what we've seen. He's a good. I think he could be a decent number 2. Ideally, he's your number 3. Really good player on both ends, but not like a true number 1 guy. They've had a lot of the Cam Thomas show coming off the bench, and then I mentioned, Dorian Finney-Smith has been good for them. Nick Claxton, a good center, but again, this is a team where I think it's more take care of business than anything else. We should kind of overmatch them at almost every single position. Just play disciplined. Again, Claxton's a good center, but that's someone that he's more of like a athletic, not a huge big guy. Porzingis should be able to have a field day with him, assuming he's able to play. No lingering effects from tonight. I think the Jays should be able to get going. And again, I look for, a pretty big win. It'd be nice to get back to a nice comfy blowout, as it seems like we haven't had too many of those lately. This would be a good team to do it against. They don't have much of an atmosphere in there. It's not too far away from home for a road game. So I'd like to see the Celtics come out, maybe punch them in the face a little bit as they've lost a few guys after the deadline, take advantage of that position. And then, I mentioned wanting Lonnie Walker at the trade deadline, so maybe if they feel like buying him out, we could take him on. That'd be fun. Probably not going to happen, but I'm looking for that. So otherwise, that's it. This is another game where it's just going to be like, go out there, take care of business, don't kill yourselves, but exert enough energy to win, and hopefully we can move on.
All right. Well, we'll see everyone on Tuesday night for the Nets, and everyone enjoy. Well, again, this is going to air after the Super Bowl anyway, so we hope you enjoyed the Super Bowl, whatever happened for you, and hope any prop bets you did get in, whether I told you to or not, all hit for you. Go ahead, subscribe to the YouTube page, subscribe wherever you're listening to the podcast on. Follow the show at Chuddy's Corner on Twitter. Follow me at Doug_Outs. Follow him at King Chuddy. And tune in on Tuesday. We'll see you all then. Chuddy, have a good night. Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Peace out, Chuddy Heads.